Hello everybody, I'm Plague of Gripes, and this is Dark Souls whatever, part 9, aka the bad one. Let's make no bones about it, they're all the bad one. So, some of you are wondering, what's in that chest that he forgot? Oh lord, so was I. So let's open it. Ta-da! This is a crystal halberd I won't be using, isn't that amazing? Look how good I look. So fucking sexy. I wish I had... You know, the Giant's shield would probably match this a little bit better. But I figured, well, I'm going to be using the Obsidian, isn't that what it's called? Obsidian Greatsword plus 2. I upgraded this. I've only had enough. I was doing that to the Drake Sword. I don't know why. I don't know why I decided to do that. It's like I just had it, so it's like, whatever. I'll just take a big steaming doo-doo right into it. But I've only managed to accrue enough resources to be able to get that up to plus 2. So my roll is intact, so I will only be upgrading that weapon to plus 2. So, plus 2 Obsidian Greatsword. There we go. Okay. This is what we're going to be doing today. Okay, did I put that up? Yeah, okay. Alright. Now, before we even get started, I will tell you guys I've already recorded this episode once before. It had numerous technical issues, and in addition to that, I also was not in a good mood, and, like, I gamble every time I make one of these episodes, because I never know if I'm going to be in one of my moods or not. Like, the better ones are whenever I'm kind of frantic and I just have no idea what's going on. Like, most days, like I'm just crazy. Wow, 2 of them. That's not great. Let's see if we can... Nah, still 2. Oh well. And, no Shiva today. No Shiva today, because we'll just do that later. He has nothing interesting to say, and I'm not gonna murder him just yet. Maybe later, though. But not for now. Okay. So, last time I tried to record this went really badly. I had plenty of things that I needed to cover, but I was not really in the mood to record. I had a bunch of other things to worry about. Quality of the commentary was absolutely terrible. Like I said, I had numerous recording problems. The game conked out on me like 3 times in a row. The recordings were fucked up to the point where I may have been able to salvage them. But at that point I thought, fuck it. Just fuck it. Because I decided, you know what? I've got that stupid cartoon I need to be working on, which I have finished in this time frame, whatever. That's already done. And in the process of doing that, I fucked up a few other things. One of which was, I got through with the episode, I only got through like half of my notes, but I accidentally saved it. Well, I didn't accidentally. I saved it because I normally save it after I remove items from my notepad to get it out of the way. And in the process of doing that, later on, I came back and said, like, well, I'm going to re-record it. I'll just redo the whole damn thing, since it was such a mess the first time around, right? And as a result, I ended up just missing most of my notes. Oh, I forgot one of the things. So I ended up having to go back to my old audio recordings of the failed version that you guys did not get to see. And I had to re-listen to most of what I said to be able to figure out what the hell my notes were. Ooh. And there's only one thing that I can remember that I forgot, and it's that I wrote down all those dumb names that you guys made for Jar Guy. I think one of them's like Frank or something. I don't know. It's not important. You guys got the thrill of me almost recording something, and that's what really counts. I think one of them had the word scrotum in there. I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, I fucked up everything. Everything's real bad. Everything's real bad right now. So, in addition to that, that was the part in which I forgot to make a backup. Here they come. They're so fat and angry and stinky. You can just smell, like, the pubic hairs from here. They're just wafting the wind. I wonder if they'll jump off. They'll actually try to come through. Come on. Come on, you sweetie pie. Oh, look at them. They're so upset. But I forgot to make a backup of my save. Nah, they're not going to go past the loading thing. Oh, loading screens. Oh, I know. It's so bad. I know it is. So I ended up having to roll back to the save that I made before part 8. whenever I was done. Ooh, the red gets me every time. And I had to replay through all of Blighttown and all of the Dumb Hollow and Ash Lake. And in the process, I killed one of those little crystal lizards. And he dropped a Titanite slab. Insert video here. See? I did it. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Past me, that's right, future me. Yay. Okay, so I have to go over, like, my past notes and also my future notes? Present notes, no. There are no present notes. None of that. Okay, I barely even remember this. But in, like, part 8, I started out because it was, like, hot and I was annoyed, and I was annoyed and hot. Yeah. And I made some comment, like, I can't even remember it. Something about, I was wondering why the fair lady was the way she was, and Quelaag wasn't the way that she was, because I wasn't even really thinking about it at the time. And, like, one or two people, of course, rocketed to their keyboards. He's wrong about something! I get to be right! You know, the internet, just typical internet stuff. Come on down here, sweetie, I know you're coming. You're coming hard and you're coming fast. Not fast enough, though. We'll get there one day. I'm just waiting on... We'll wait on him. So, I will point out, of course, I had an entire lore playthrough prior to this one. And I even had an episode in which I stood in front of the Fair Lady and donated humanity and did nothing except for talk about the Chaos Covenant and her and so forth and so on, called, I think, the Fair Lady Cast. And some people were like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. How can he purport to know anything about the lore whenever he doesn't know about the lore? I know, God's sakes. Like, I can't even make a dumb joke without people freaking out about it. Anyways, yes, I know, why blight pus, etc., I know. And that's off the top of my head. Last time I went through it and was like, oh yeah, it's like that. So I thought about it for like a split second, and it's like, oh yeah, Engi, blight pus, and all the waves of cruddy, useless video game information came flooding back to my head. So yeah, I know. But in the course of all that, you thought I was going to pick it up, didn't you? In the course of doing all that, I also started thinking about Engi and all that other stuff, and it made me want to talk about it. So that's what I was trying to do in the failed version of this particular part. So I guess I'll talk about that too. But for the time being, Black Eye Orb. So this is a key item. I don't get a choice in this one or the other. Nearly spat out my drink. Dead. I always love the message. Dead. Should have been fucking dead. And all of Shiva's stuff. So I guess right before being killed, she transformed into Shiva. And she left to return to Nippon. That's what happened. That's the lore. Okay. So, what should I do? I'll answer a couple of questions first that aren't like that. Some of those will be easy. Like, someone commented on, you can tell it was like an angry PvP guy that wanted invasions to stay the way they were, and one of those guys commented something to the effect of, if you want to fix PvP, just go offline. Stupid. I put that stupid... Actually, he might have said stupid. I don't know. I can't remember. But I will point out that going offline is not a solution to fix a system. If a system is not working, you don't just turn off the system and say, problem solved, and then dust your hands off. You fix the system. So, no... Oh, well, okay. I was about to say, don't pick up random junk off the ground, me, but then it turned out to be okay. Good. Okay, that's not a solution. You can't fix... Like, I went on about that in one of the prior episodes, about how the invasion system is not... we're going to be making, like, dad noises this whole time, I know. It's like 4 a.m. or something. Dogs are still boofing, even in the middle of the night, they're just barking at nothing. No goddamn reason. So... I talked about that in the prior part, whatever, but you can't fix that by just pretending that the problem doesn't exist. That's not a solution. But I've already gone over the pros and cons and everything of that, so there's no reason to go into it. I just wanted to make a comment of, getting rid of a system is not the same thing as fixing a system. Going offline is not a solution. It is a way of avoiding a problem, but it's not a solution. It's like, how do I deal with my mortgage? I know. I'll just put a shotgun barrel in my mouth and fill it with booze. My favorite. Problem solved. No, that doesn't fix the problem. You're just avoiding the problem. Okay, second question, dumb question. Is the Covenant Dragon down there, or the Stone Dragon, the Ancient Dragon, whatever you want to call him, a Firekeeper? And I say a dumb question because it just sounds kind of dumb, but it's actually kind of smart for asking. Because if you think about all the general rule is that, there he is, here's our boy, here's our special lad. And you didn't expect me to attack you this time, did you? Huh? I got your shield and everything. Asshole. It was very disrespectful of him to attack me off the elevator. Very rude boy. Okay. Yeah, I'm in kind of a little mood today, aren't I? Okay, but I thought that was interesting because the general rule of Firekeepers, of course, is they need to be women. They should probably be human. And there's a reason for this. So that they can maintain this dumb bonfire. Even if it doesn't make any sense that... I wonder what you have. Ah, more sex leggings. Good. Even if it doesn't make much sense as far as why exactly some bonfires are lit and some are not lit. Some require a firekeeper, some don't. Whatever, we're not even worrying about that. But general rule... I'm not going to pick you up. I know what you are. But the general rule, of course, is... human, female, blah, blah, blah. That's the general theme that Miyazaki is running with, right? Right. Like my Lady Freelade here could easily be a firekeeper. She so chose to fill herself replete with humanity in every orifice of her body. Yes, true. Yes, true. Okay. But in Dark Souls we see several times that's not the case. Case 1, the Fair Lady. Fair Lady is indeed rife with humanity, though, so it does make sense that she could be a firekeeper. It doesn't really make any sense why she would want to be exactly. It sort of does, because this will lead into my Angie thing, so maybe I'll save that. But maybe she's trying to take care of the people in that area. It does make sense that she would want to be a firekeeper. Plus, she needs the humanity anyways, because her sister's giving it to her, because the humanity is what is ensuring that she stays healed, despite the fact that she's infected with this blight pus, right? Right. So that does make sense. In the case of that dragon, it doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. Because... like, the Dragon Covenant... I'm face palming. The Dragon Covenant thing is there just to be a covenant. It's not really supposed to make a lot of sense. Step 1, why would the dragon care about having a covenant with people? We want to be dragons too! Can you imagine the dragon be like, oh, okay, that sounds super cool. Come on, guys, gather around. I'll teach you all about it. That's the dragon's voice, I guess. It sounds almost sort of like, come on, guys, I'll teach you all about it. I'll teach you how to become dragon. I'll teach you to be a motherfucker as well. I'll teach... They don't care. Why would the dragons care? It's so stupid. Anyways, Sense Fortress, this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be fighting these naughty snake men. Last time I was in here, I tried to do this with a longsword, because I wanted to use a longsword. That wasn't a good idea. I did the whole thing with a longsword. It was a bad idea. I received many a bad touch in Sense Fortress using the longsword. No bad touch today. No, sir. I do think it's an error in their design of this place to put 2 of these guys at the start. Because you want to introduce players to the idea of what these things are and how to fight them. And you can't do that if you throw 2 of them at you at the same time. Especially considering these things are such a huge jump in difficulty compared to most of the things that you've been fighting up until now. Like, I still, to this day, think that was a bad decision. Anyways, but the stone dragon down there doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, why would it care? Why is it doing what it's doing? Why is it maintaining a bonfire? how can it even maintain a bonfire? It doesn't have any humanity. Like, it makes sense for the Fair Lady, because, you know, whatever. By the way, isn't it kind of weird? Don't you think that the Fair Lady, she's a witch because of the soul that she possesses? But if you keep piling humanity into someone, like, the only thing that makes someone a god or a human or whatever is the kind of soul that they have, right? And humanity is a fragment of the dark soul. So if she has more of that than she does the life soul, even if it's going haywire inside of her, there's some naughty snake phantoms over here. Look at them. Plotting, scheming. Naughty snakes. So naughty and naughty. Fucking bad. Bad boy snakes. Bad boys! What you gonna snake? When snakes on snake you. Yeah. I thought there were supposed to be two of them. That's fine. Oh, here he is. Here's our friend. Come on, sweet thing. Oh, my little flower. My precious baby. No! Bad baby. Baby needs spanking. Baby need fix. I get screwdriver fixie, baby. Okay, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the dragon. The dragon doesn't have any humanity. And it's not a covenant where you, whoa! Ooh, special boy. And it's not a covenant where you donate humanity to him, either. Like, I thought that briefly. It's like, no, because you give him dragon scales. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's made alliance with people because he's like, oh, my dragon scales are falling off. I need more dragon scales. God's sakes. Go get dragon scales, guys. Sure thing, Mr. Dragon. Your voice sure is weird. Go fuck yourself. No. Whatever was going on. I don't know. Oh, it's been a rough week. So it doesn't really make any sense. So is the dragon there a firekeeper? Maybe. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I kind of imagine that he's just there just because, we want to put the dragon there in front of the bonfire because it's fucking cool. And that was probably as far as it went. And that's pretty much it. That's how the legend went. But yeah, I guess it could just be... Like, there's no firekeeper down there, which is the weird thing. The fact that there are even bonfires down there in the first place is bizarre. There shouldn't be. It's Ash Lake. It's like the foundations of everything. There's... what a bonfire is the bones of an undead. Which means... Like, that's only happened twice. The undead curse has only happened twice. One during Gwen's age, which is what freaked them out in the first place, and what caused the witch of Isolate to become the bed of chaos, and Gwen to set himself on fire, and so forth and so on. That's why that happened. And now it's happening again, and that's the era that we are in right now. Correct. Correct me. That's true. No, don't you dare. Oh, get out of there. Yes, I'm a genius. I did that by accident. I'm a genius. So, like, even the idea that there are bonfires down there in the first place doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There shouldn't be. Because the last time anyone was probably down there... By the way, I won't be surprised by any... I've already done this run through Sins once before. Oh, Lord. So I'm not going to be really surprised by much. I don't remember what they are, but there's less incentive for me to go, wow, wait! You know, to play it up, be hammy. But anyways, Power Within, yay! I won't use it probably, yay! So, it doesn't make any sense why the bonfires are down there. It doesn't make any sense why the dragon would be a firekeeper. If there is a firekeeper, where the hell is she or it or whatever? Where is all the humanity coming from? Maybe it's just random people that are actually part of the Dragon Covenant that you don't see that just so happen to be the ones that are maintaining it. But how are they maintaining it? I guess necessarily you don't need to have a firekeeper. Like, you can probably keep a bonfire lit for a little while. It kind of, in a way, it's kind of interesting that they didn't make that a mechanic. That you can spend one humanity at a bonfire. Hey, buddy! They can spend one humanity at a bonfire, and it'll stay, you know, active for X amount of... Hey! No! Not okay! You are not my special boy. Did that dude wake up? No, he didn't wake up. Guess I should actually heal. Like, be a smart boy myself. Haha! You didn't expect me to attack, did you? You get back out there and you get struck by boulders, sir! No! You are bad at this. Oh, it happened again! Oh, why won't you let me in? My hot pockets are inside! Oh! Yeah, I'm in a mood today. So yeah, none of that makes any sense. So your question is stupid, but there's a reason for it being stupid, and I'm stupid for answering it. Mission complete. Oh, Jesus. Mission complete. No. No, ma'am. These are ladies. They're girls. See how they have, like, quad tits? I swear it. I swear. So yeah, that's dumb. Question resolved. Question slain. Wolfring. Awoo. Alright. Hey, are they just flying off the edge? Look at him down there. He's hissing too, like he's angry about it. Oh, he saw me, now he's getting hit by the boulders. Because he's stupid. Let's sit here and just watch the numbers pile up, shall we? Oh, I'll do! Okay, by the way, one of the other questions, I'll go through two of them. One of them is someone pointing out, hey, Plague is being hypocritical for rolling as a roll style, while complaining about the fact that rolling is such a problem in the Souls games. And my response to that, of course, is, well, that's the game that I'm playing. There's many people that have said things tantamount to that. Isn't it funny how Plague likes Souls games that don't exist? He's saying that he likes something, but then he's not doing it. But that's the reason why I am saying it, is because the games don't do that. Like, there's room for improvement. It's like if I was playing Mega Man, and I decided, I wish that Mega Man had, like, melee attacks or something. Which there could be, I had no idea, I don't care about Mega Man. But I'm playing Mega Man, I'm shooting my lemons, and someone sees that, and it's like, hey, you said that you didn't like it whenever you did long-range attacks, so how come you're not standing up right next to him and attacking point-blank range, huh? And of course the answer to that is, well, I'm playing this game. That's how this game works. I can't change the mechanics of it. So I have to work with what I have. And in Dark Souls, that's kind of what prompted this. Like, I'm not gonna, I'll show them, I'm not doing that. I just kind of thought, it'd be nice to use a tower shield. I think I can support that at this point. So that's the reason why I'm doing that today. Plus, I went through here the first time with a fast roll build, doing parry dagger and longsword or whatever it was with heavier armor. Didn't have much fun with that, that's for sure. So I thought it might be more interesting this way. But that's just what I'm working with, so if you don't like the fact that I'm rolling in a game that's designed for you to roll, I can't really help you. Like if I was doing a Dark Souls 3 playthrough, I can't possibly imagine that I would try to make a heavy armor build, because I've done it before and they are absolutely miserable. I'll do this first. There's another question of why am I using, like, +5 weapons? And I'm not today, but I was last time, like the Black Knight weapons, for example. Good example of that. The reason why I'm doing that, the concern is that I'm trivializing the mod. That's the concern some people have. I could do that. If I can remind myself, I will show you the pathetic amount of damage that even this +5 longsword is actually doing to things. And of course, we have already been over the fact that I can't find the Ember yet because we looked ahead and apparently it's inside of Sin's Fortress. Both of them are, as far as the randomization mod goes. So we can't do anything about that one way or the other. But the short answer to that is, I've talked about this before, but, ooh, nice rock. If I were doing that, and I were attacking enemies and doing almost no damage to them whatsoever, it would take absolutely forever to actually get through. Here it is. It would take me absolutely forever to actually get through all that. There we go. So, you've seen me do this in parts before, where I slam my head against something long enough that eventually I just start running past everything. And even in regular Dark Souls, a lot of people do this. A lot of people say whenever they're playing Dark Souls, you know, that's how I ended up solving all my problems. I just ran past everything instead of actually fighting it. And developers even have attempted to, quote-unquote, fix that in other versions of their games by ruining the content and making things hyper-aggressive and filling the area with tons of enemies and so forth and so on in an effort to try to force people to slog through the entire area. Misguided. Misguided. So, if I were actually doing that and using nothing but, like, lower-end weapons that I can't upgrade at all, then it would take me absolutely forever, and I would much sooner get to the point where I don't even try to engage the content of the game, and I would just run past everything. You would still have issues with bosses, of course, because those are things that you can't really just run around. But my point stands. That's the reason why I'm not doing that. So if you're concerned about that, and you want the hilarity of me... Like, I think with the longsword, it takes... It was something crazy. It was like a dozen or so swings to be able to get through their health bar. It may even be more than that. I can't remember. We'll see in a bit. But anyways, I wanted to get that thought out of the way before we talk to Mr. Man over here, who may or may not be Mexican. He kind of looks kind of Mexican-y, if you take his helmet off. He's a handsome lad. I've already talked plenty about him, but I still like him.
So you see my plight. Yes, indeed. I've run up against a wall, or a ball, to be precise. I must say,
isn't it kind of weird? Miyazaki writes all the dialogue. Isn't it kind of weird that he would actually say run up against a wall? Oh, a ball, I mean. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, he's a Japanese dude, and I know he used to read English novels. That's where his love of, like, medieval stuff comes from, because he used to read a bunch of, shitty novels that way. So he does have the ability to read English. But it still seems kind of weird. I wonder if that's more localized. Maybe that's something that Frog Nation, or whatever they're called, did. I don't know. Weird. Anyways, I wanted to briefly poke him in the gut, because some people have said, in response to me talking about him, that they really appreciate the fact that I made it clear, I think I did this mainly in like an art video, that when it comes to him, he's a lot of talk, like he believes he's something. He believes I'm a hero, I'm an adventurer, I do this for a living, this is who I am. But he's not actually, he doesn't have enough agency to live that out. He just has this internal fantasy of himself. And that's all that he is. So his entire arc is that whenever you eventually solve the problems that he took too long to solve, like he's very capable, he kicks ass whenever you force him to, but he just takes forever. In some ways I would say that Sigurd in Dark Souls 3 realizes that a little bit more, because he has the same problem, but he does actually, once you kind of kick him in the butt, he actually does take action. But this Sigurd drops the ball and just, he doesn't have any finality to his character. Wish those dogs would fucking shut up. They're barking at nothing. They're just barking at other dogs that are like 5 miles away. Boo! I hear you! You hear me? Oh, I'm stupid! I'm stupid! Me too! That's what dogs do. They're fucking stupid. Anyways, but the problem with Sigurd is that he doesn't really have any characterization beyond that. He does eventually have agency, but doesn't really go anywhere, and at the very last second, like, oh, I was friends with a giant! Oh, Demon Souls reference! And then he just clocks himself out of the plot or whatever. Anyways, but as far as he goes, a lot of people have said that they kind of have seen that in themselves, and they appreciate the fact that they did that, and that I brought it up because they said, oh, that actually helped me to resolve some of the issues that I have going on. So I thought that was cool. Like, he's a good character. I really always, whenever it's possible, like to take the time to actually address the fact that he's like this.
My head would spin.
I'm looking at the decibel readout of these stupid dogs barking background. What is it? What is it, dumbass? Is it fucking nothing? Is it you're an idiot written on a wall somewhere and you're barking at it? Oh, yeah. Can you hear that? It's, whatever. I'll probably have mixed it out by this time tomorrow. What was I even talking about? Oh, yeah. Sigmaier's a good character. He is. I really like Sigmaier. I'm not going to pretend that there's amazing depth to his character, but I just really like that concept. The fact that he is just a guy that... Because people are like that. That's such an adult thing. Of, this is me. I could do this if I really wanted to. I've talked about that in one of my art videos recently. Like, I could do anything if I actually put my mind to it. I could write this novel, I have great ideas. It would take no time at all. One of them got me. But the thing is that most people don't realize that if they actually did start... Good God. That if they actually did start writing, they would quickly realize that they actually have kind of a mess going on as far as their ideas go. And they don't actually really have a solid idea. Or the thing that they think that they would be excellent at, they're not practiced at, so they really don't know what they would be doing in regards to that either. Let's see if this is coming down or not. Yeah, it is. Did that snake man just try to jump me? Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah. Fuck her up. Fuck that sexy snake up. Oh, she likes it. Yeah. Okay. See what this is. Titanite slab. Pretty good. I now have 2 of these things. Pretty nice. I couldn't even begin to guess exactly where... I can't even remember where the Titanite slab drop is. It's been too long. Not important. But yes, I always like that about his character. Pretty cool. Because people are just like that. And I like any character where you can actually, like, see some common truth. Here's where it was. You can actually see some common truth about how people behave inside of the character. I always think that's super cute, super cool. The fact that they're humanized to that degree. Okay, where did those go? Oh, yeah. Wait, what? Oh, no. This is what goes to the Mimic. This is what goes down to Mimic Chan. Forgot about that. I could take this one. By the way, this elevator, I think, is pretty cheap. Because, look, I mean, you do get a chance to step off. But there's not much of a way for you to realize that this is a trap other than... You know how the Hellkite Bridge has that flimsy excuse of, well, you can see that there's like little scorch marks on the ground. And that's their excuse for Miyazaki jerking himself off. Oh, you died. And that thing he loves to do. And that's really just bullshit. Like, yes, there's, like, blood stains on the elevator, but there's blood stains all over the fucking game. You're not gonna notice that. That's a flimsy excuse. There's no possible way that you would know that there's gonna be spikes up there unless you rode all the way up there and actually hit your head on them. It's fucking stupid. Okay, let's see if we can actually fall off on this thing. Probably not. Ooh, that's rough, but we did it. Guys, it's a chest! I wonder if it's a Mimic. Now, this is the first Mimic in the game. Which, after, like, playing Dark Souls 2 and 3, especially, that seems ridiculous that I would even say that. Like, it's taken this long for us to actually encounter one. Which is just amazing. And there's a lot to be said about Mimics. Probably the fewer things said, the better. But, you guys know me. Can't have that. No sir. Oh, thank goodness. Just what I needed. Another one. But I don't like Mimics. I just don't. I don't think Mimics are a particularly healthy enemy for any system. In classic tabletop, usually your DM would do something like, say you walk into a room, he would describe the room and say there's bloodstains on the wall or something, which would kind of be your little hint, there might be something dangerous in here. But then he would say, but there's nothing in here but a chest. And especially if you are aware that especially if you are aware that there are mimics inside of whatever system that you're in, then you would know, oh, it's probably just a mimic. And you would perform a skill check on that chest. Ah, just what I needed. I knew it was here, but it's just what I needed. You would perform a skill check to see whether or not the chest was in fact a mimic. And if you did realize it, then you might, it depends on whatever system that you're running, you would take measures to either prepare for a fight, or you would have a means of just countering the fact that it's a mimic or whatever. And Dark Souls, there's only one thing in the game that can actually be a mimic, and that of course is a chest. So the minute that you realize, oh, there are mimics in this game and they're in chests, then what are you going to do? You're going to attack every single chest in the entire game that you see from that point forward to see whether or not it's a mimic, because that's the version of performing a roll check in Dark Souls. It's just attacking it, because there's no downside. And in Dark Souls 2, they tried to add a downside in the form of, well, if you attack it, then we'll sit here and watch his health bar die away. Our sleepy dragonkin friend down there. The whole idea was, well, if you hit it too many times, then you turn it into rubbish. But the thing is, if you made it so that you only had to hit that chest one time ever to turn it into rubbish, then you could, like, accidentally hit it, or an enemy could hit it and destroy it, or so forth and so on. So they gave the whole, well, 2 hits. It's 2 hits. They gave that rule, right? But that obviously didn't work either, because then there's still no punishment for it. The only time that would ever come up is if an enemy just so happened to hit the chest and you didn't realize it, which I'm sure has happened to someone. And then you did a check on the chest, and then it broke the chest and you didn't realize it. Like, that's the only time that would have ever come up as far as actually being a working system. And in Dark Souls 3, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking in 3, turning absolutely everything into a chest. I have no idea. It defeats the whole purpose of having mimics in your game if there are more mimics than there are chests, because there's no surprise. Really, when it comes down to it, whenever you're designing any form of content in your game, whatever happens to be, whether it's mimics or whether it's dildos or whether it's dragons or whatever, it doesn't matter. It should be enough. When it comes down to it, you have to analyze what is the value in having this. Like, what experience does this give the player that they would actually enjoy? Like, you can't look at it from the perspective of, fuck the player, this'll fuck them over real good. It's easy to do that, but ultimately games are there for the player's experience, not for your, sadistic masturbation fantasies. Oh, nice, man. I didn't get that one last time. And as far as mimics go, I have a hard time planting exactly what that is. There is the one-time value of, holy shit, this thing was actually an enemy. I had no idea. And you get that one time. I'm holding out my hand and doing a one thing. One time ever. You get that once. And that's the only time you will ever get that. After that, it becomes common knowledge, oh, these enemies are in the game, so I'm going to be looking out for them for the rest of time. And the only time that doesn't work is whenever you space out the encounters so much that you actually forget that the enemies are in the game in the first place. And as a result, you might stop doing face checks and open a chest and, oh, Mimic, I forgot. And that's the value of that system. That's why Dark Souls 1 kind of works in that regard. I don't like Mimics in 1. I don't like them in 2, or especially 3. 3 is by far the worst. So, how do you fix mimics? I would just assume not have them at all. Because, like I said, you have that one-time experience of, oh, a mimic, oh, and then that's it. And it's not worth making an entire model and a whole thing about enemies just for that one experience. Some people have said, well, what if you turn everything into a mimic? What if anything, like, what if a bonfire could be a mimic? What if a ladder could be a mimic? What if, cage could be a mimic or whatever? And at that point, you're kind of just... I don't know, you're kind of polluting the game to the point where their player is doing the same thing they do with invisible walls, where they're just running around, just, is this one? No, it's not. Okay, is this a wall? No, it's not. Is this one? No. Like, if there's no actual warning for any of these things, then it really diminishes the overall experience of the game whenever you're putting so much emphasis on tricking the player at every turn that they can't just play the game and actually be in the world. You're focusing too much on the mechanics of trying to fool the player into doing things, just for the sake of having a single enemy. Just don't have mimics. That's the solution. Don't have mimics. But if you absolutely had to have a mimic, I don't know. I really don't know. There's not really a good solution. And as far as tabletop goes, there's plenty of solutions because it's up to your imagination. There's no, like, video game to have content for it to work around. But as far as a video game goes, there's not much of a solution because you actually have to make things work as a system. So, I don't know. I just don't find much value in it myself. That one-time experience of, oh, cool! Yeah, that's a nice experience to have one time. That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. If you want to have a debate about that in the comments section, go ahead. I'll probably give it some more thought in between this part and the next part, but for the time being, let's just talk to Logan.
You seem quite lucid. A rare thing in these times. I am Logan.
We're the first undead here. That's why he's here.
I have a bright idea. Suppose you set me free. I'm old and empty.
Crystal, a merchant up there, says that they've been doing this for 100 years.
This place is melting my mind. The inactivity is...
Can you imagine being trapped inside this stupid shitty cage for nearly a century? We don't know exactly how long he's been in here. He does up there say that, like, the Nuts Better Neek or Niece, whatever, and the Boulder Knights, and even him, he says he came here alone, even though he's wearing their armor or whatever. Asshole. He says that they've been doing this for the past 100 years. Now, whether or not he showed up during... He showed up within that 100-year span, but whether or not he did that at year 100 or like 2 years ago, we have no idea. We have absolutely no idea. But either way, I kind of doubt he's been in here for just a few days. So, it's actually pretty amazing. I don't want to give Miyazaki too much credit, but you could see this as being foreshadowing of him going insane later on. Because if he actually has been trapped inside of this cage, barricaded behind a wall that the snake men built behind them, then sealed and are guarding long enough for one of them to not care about it anymore and to start sleeping on the wall, he's probably been here for quite a long time. So he should by all rights be completely batshit insane. As I usually say, the first time that I encountered Logan down here, I thought, well, I'll open his cage by attacking the cage, of course. I'll break it. That didn't work. He was mad. Hey, Logan. Oh, so fascinating. He's such a captivating character. Yeah, I'm not gonna be smart enough. Won't be smart enough for you. By the way, I think it's kind of... I don't like how sorcery in a lot of games is scaled with your intelligence, quote-unquote. Because if the average human intelligence is somewhere between 7 and 12, and you have to use, like, Demon Souls rules. You have to use, like, Demon Soul Power to amplify your natural traits way beyond that. Shouldn't someone that has an intelligence of, like, 26 be beyond genius level? So, shouldn't someone that has an intelligence level of, like, 100 just be so fucking smart that they're just, like, levitating around? Like, fear not, for I am with you. Like, holding up like orbs are just floating around them. They have like Einstein heads swarming around like fantasy skulls. Equals MC squared. Like, shouldn't it just be batshit crazy how smart they are? But they're no smarter than anyone else is. Well, Logan's a fucking idiot. So how come they keep tying it to intelligence? That's stupid. And how come if I want to run an ordinary build where I'm just... I'm a pretty lady wielding a big-ass weapon. How come I gotta be stupid? How come he's gotta look at me and be like, oh, you're stupid. Because you don't You don't point a stick at things and fire energy beam that solves every problem. Pew! Pew! Look how smart I am, everyone! Pew! Pew! Oh! Take that, zombie! I shot you with my ray gun! Pew! I'm so smart! It's stupid. Logan's fucking stupid. Dumb chucklefuck. I'm not the one that gets trapped in a goddamn cage.
Oh, hello.
I'm too stupid to walk out of my shitty cage. I've been shitting into the floor in this cage for over 1 billion years. I'm fucking stupid. Anyways, what the hell was I talking about before I even... Let's see, let me go down my list real fast. I'm using those weapons, going offline, hypocritical, blah blah blah. I guess I'll talk about... since I've been saving this, I will talk about the Fair Lady briefly. Now, I mentioned this earlier. I ran in circles a little bit, trying to avoid the subject, just because it's going to be a long one. Sort of. Maybe. I don't know. But there's a few things that I thought were interesting whenever I went back and started thinking about it. Okay. The source of the blight pus is not exactly clear. Where did the blight pus come from? Because Ingy and them were infected with this shit, right? Actually, I think I need to go down here. Ingy and them were infected with this nonsense. I'll probably die in the process of doing this, by the way. And the whole reason why the Fair Lady is infected is because she felt pity for Ingy for being infected with blight pus, so she eats it. She eats the blight pus. She, quote-unquote, sucks it out, which makes it way grosser. Why? Why would you do that? Why'd you do that? So, maybe the blight pus specifically has something to do with chaos that we are not aware of? Come this asshole up here shooting lightning rays at me. Because he's so smart. And I just wanted to get in closer. What a pretty lady you are. Oh Lord, I've been drinking too many of these things. Why would she do that? It's stupid. Annex key, at last. This is the annex key to the church area in the Painted World. Would have been bad if we didn't get it here. Okay, the thing I actually need to do... How do I do this? I can't remember. Yeah, they're right there. So I'm going to have to drop down here. Because I need to get a few items that are down there. Which is going to be difficult. I could lay a plan out here, but I'm just going to get my ass blown out. So that's what's going to happen here in a bit. But for the time being, let's just talk about this. What the hell is blight pus? Is it chaos related somehow? But in all of Ingy's like item descriptions that he sells, it says that he was chased out of Enuma. Or, excuse me, the Great Swamp. It's known as Enuma in Japan. I've been over that in my prior playthrough. I think that was the one where a German spy actually came on and we talked about it. And I even showed like videos of the location and stuff. And explained why exactly that means something to the Japanese that it doesn't here. But he came from Enuma, and he was responsible for a lot of this shit. Like, you could see that the reason why he was chased out of Enuma is because he was one that was manufacturing these weird, like, toxic spells, poison mist, toxic mist, and so on, right? Like, that's the whole logic behind it. So you think, oh, he must be the one that causes blight pus. No, whoa. He must have been the one that was causing the blight pus. But if he was, then I guess the Fair Lady could still have pity on him, but it makes less sense. It just doesn't make any sense. When I jump down here, all these dudes are going to be super angry. Maybe I'll just hold off on that for a split second. So, why did she eat it? How come it couldn't have been like a snake venom thing where you just like suck it out a little bit and then be like, oh, I'll just spit it out on the ground. Did you have to eat it too? Why'd you gotta do that? Why's it gotta be like that? Why's it gotta be that way, Fair Lady? Why'd you do that to yourself? Did that snake man... I saw that. Snake man just fell down from the ceiling. What a rascal. Okay, oh, wait. My ring. Oh, Jesus. Why do I have this on? Oh, this is the worst. No. Poor footing. Yes, there we go. Okay. We're good. Okay, now we just have to survive this one dick hat. That will be okay. Everything will be okay. Tranquil Walk of Peace. Amazing. Absolutely fascinating. Firebomb. Best thing I ever saw. Let's go. Everything's bad. There's only one more item down here that I can think of, and that would be the one that you get for killing that asshole over there. He normally drops their weapon. I am not going to attempt to kill them because I have a quintillion health, and it will take absolutely forever. It is not good at all. We'll just save that for a little bit later. That is to say, never. Okay. So, she could have just spat out the blight pus, right? I don't know, but that's not part of her characterization or anything, so I can see why they wouldn't do that. White Tynat slab. Place is just ripe with these things. Okay, I forgot this is like the one wall in the game that you can't cause to vanish by rolling through it. So, she, like, consumed Ingie's blight pus, whatever that is exactly. Did she do that with everyone? Like, did everyone down there have blight pus going on? And the first time I did this, I ran past everything, and like 12 snake men climbed up this ladder, and we had a big brawl with that one guy over there. Oh, I wish I could have seen that playing. Oh, too bad. Guess you that table word for it. Hey, buddy. How mad are you today? Hey, I'm not even bothering you. You rang the bell for me. I appreciate that. I don't even want to attack you. You're just being like this because... I don't know. I don't know why you're like this. Why are you like this? Why you gotta be like that? Come on, do your little temper tantrum. No, do your temper tantrum. Just such a mischief maker today. Come on. There. No. That does sort of resemble the animation. Man, he just doesn't want to do it today. I don't think he's wearing a loincloth either. Oh, there he goes. He's mad now. He's going for it. Whoa, he's flipping out. I thought he flew off the side of the building for a second. Okay, here we go. 383. Probably not going to clear this. Damn it. Still got like 3 or 4 hits left in him. Oh god. No, bad. Good. Very good. Excellent. What are you going to give me? What's it going to be today? Actually, this is a gold one, so it's probably going to be the same thing that he always drops. Yep, I know, Joe. Oh well. Nothing special for me. Nothing special for Friedland. Alright, so yeah, did she consume the blight pus of everyone? Was everyone in the greater Blighttown area afflicted with the blight pus? If she didn't heal everyone, then the people that are left, are those the weird reptile guys that we see? So, if she didn't heal them, but she did heal Ingie, and the other guys that we see that have, like, eggs on them or whatever, maybe, I have no idea, then maybe the blight pus is what does stuff to you and turns you into weird snake men and big fat pyromancers? Maybe that's what happened? Maybe the reason why all the guys down there are pyromancers is because all the pyromancers were looking for the master of pyromancy. Or Solomon, who learned his shit from Quaylon, I can't remember what the name is. Maybe they were going down there looking for ways of learning pyromancy, and they learned some of it, but they got fucked up in the process. They got fucked up in the process? Who can say? As I said in the Fair Lady cast, the entire covenant and idea behind the witches and so forth is extremely underdeveloped. It has a lot of ideas, though. But none of them seem to mesh together, and they are all a big clusterfuck. And as mentioned in that, there's a lot of examples of the content, like content being cut, like the fact that Quelaag used to be the Covenant leader, of the Chaos people, but they decided against it because they wanted the boss fight too much or something. It is a mess. It is a fucking mess. But also, why does the Fair Lady have eggs? I think I might have mentioned this already in the other one. Why does she have eggs? And why is she so concerned about whether or not they're going to live or die? Like, if they were, like, weird chaos eggs or whatever, then you'd think she'd be like, I want to get rid of this shit right now. Quelaag, we're cutting this loose. Damn it. The animation of getting my shield out actually caused me to take damage. So you would think that she would not want them to be alive. Especially if they're birthing horrible, horrible centipedes. Like all the guys that are... Like Angie says, oh, you do not bear the Fair Lady's eggs? Like, her eggs? Really? These are hers? Is she laying eggs inside of you? Why? Why do you want that? Like, I can understand, like, you're doing her a solid. Like, you suck the shit out of me or whatever, so I'll bear your eggs? Man, that sounds suspicious as hell. Like, I get that or whatever. But, why... Why's it gotta be like that? Why you gotta do that? Why's it gotta be so gross? Why does a Fair Lady want her eggs to be born in people? That's weird. You're weird, Fair Lady. And the eggs themselves, whenever they hatch, birth horrible, horrible centipedes. And the centipedes might, or maybe not, grow up to be horrible abomination giant centipedes that act as irritating, poorly designed bosses in later sequences. It's weird. And, like, do you want that? Is that good? Like, are you... I know it's like Servants of Chaos or whatever, but are those two ladies, spider ladies, are they actually like... Are they not like Quaylon and the one that you fight up... Maybe the one up top is up the same way. But are they kind of the opinion of, oh, this Chaos shit is actually super great. I'm very much so down with this. If so, why would they be? Also... Like, if she has the eggs, was she, like, knocked up before all the chaos shit went down? And she just so happened to be like, well, I'm knocked up forever now. I've got a quadrillion babies coming. They're coming strong, or whatever. Had to be careful there. If not, what was she impregnated by? You can't just say chaos either, because... Quelaag has the same shit. How come she isn't laying quadrillions of eggs? What the fuck is going on? Why's it gotta be like that? And also, Inky mentions in later dialogue that if you have the old witch's ring, that he envies your ability to... Ooh, need to like this. That he envies your ability to talk with her. Because whenever you first talk to her, she can't understand what you're saying. But she still believes that you're Quelaag for some bizarre reason, maybe. Or maybe not. And, so that means that they're speaking a different language. He says that I cannot speak her tongue, or whatever it is. So... Does that mean that all the witches had their own witch language? That was distinct from whatever the gods spoke? And was distinct from human language? If so, why? Were they really that isolated from the rest of... whatever, Dregling, Pygmy society, that they actually developed their own language and culture and just never interacted with humans at all? The gods can talk to humans, but you get... really? What the fuck? Where did they even... Oh, I see. But you really get the impression that the gods had a reason to actually talk to people. Let's go up here and handle this guy up top first before we do anything. The first time around, I kept trying to jump across to that dude first thing. And I did. I actually didn't have much of a problem with it, but still, I think I'd rather do it this way. This guy, I was trying to parry him, and he would just not behave. He was a naughty sailor. There we go. This is the reason why I decided to use a great shield this time around. Wow. That's a sturdy target shield. Can't defend against jumping attacks, though. Can't parry that. Better stop doing it. You better stop. Nuh-uh-uh. You didn't stop. That's a naughty, naughty sailor. Okay. So apparently the witches had their own language. And you can understand why the gods would be able to converse with humans, because they relied so much on humans. They were the source of their power, in a way, because, you know, humanity, so forth and so on, we need to kindle the bonfires. Like, Gwyn ended up having to kindle himself, but even in the long run, he realized, oh, it's going to be up to humans to keep this shit up. And they had the Church of Thurland, the Way of the White, and so forth and so on. You get the idea. They relied on humans a lot. Even the people of Ulasil... Huh, more sex leggings. Even the people of Ulasil... Why is it shaking? He must be throwing a tantrum up there. Even the people of Ulasil... Like, the whole logic behind the dumb tournament grounds, where whoever wins gets to go up there and converse with the gods. Like, they actually gain an audience with them. So apparently the gods and humans didn't really interact that much, but the gods still had a reason to. So that's the reason why they would be able to speak human language. So maybe the gods even had their own language that we're just not aware of. Who knows? Maybe they spoke the same thing as humans. We don't know. But isn't it interesting that it is only the witches that are said to actually be different? So, pretty neat. But it makes it even more bizarre that all this Ingi and Blightpus shit started happening while none of them knew what the other one was talking about. Oh, come on, dude. You do that the second that I come out here? There we go. Calm down, my sweet baby. That's right. Just sit back and let it happen. Just think of Namek. There we go. Oh, my taint. Why you gotta do that to my taint? It's kind of weird that these things are completely hollow. Like big molten milk balls. You wouldn't think they would hurt that much. Hello, Mr. Iron Golem. I'm going to be summoning Tarkus today, by the way. Just because I wanted to. Actually, I decided to because I actually brought him in last time with the intent of, I'll let him fight, but then I thought better of it. Because I figured there's no way he's going to actually be able to take this guy one-on-one. So I actually jumped in and we double-teamed him. But at the very end, he was still doing a very abnormal amount of damage to him. So he may have been fine. I'm not sure. So I'm going to see today. Still got some more things to do, though. So it's just especially bizarre. Everything is really strange in regards to that. Especially whenever you know that none of them knew what the hell the other one was talking about. Like, Engi shows up, he's got blight pus, whatever that is, inside of his body. And she feels pity for him, even though it might have been something that he caused in the first place. It's not clear one way or the other. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Oh, I thought he fell off for a second. This guy, how far does this go? Okay, it looks like right about there. Oh, come on now. I'll backstab once. There we go. Sweet baby. Sweet baby. Sweet baby needs kisses. Yes. Let's see if we can find something to kiss him with. I don't have one. Oh, I really wish I had. I should cheat in a bunch of great arrows. For fun. For fun. Because why not? It will be fun. I really don't like the fact that they're so expensive, though. Like, they're incredibly expensive. Well, I get they don't want people to just be... There's another topic entirely. I guess I've said everything I can say about the chaos situation, how completely batshit crazy that is. Because it is crazy. It is fucking weird. It doesn't make any sense at all. You guys get the idea. Come on. There we go. Get that headshot damage. Okay, let's do this for a while. But the logic of these things are super powerful. We will make sure that they're incredibly expensive, and that will be our way of balancing it. Because if no one can buy them, no one can have them. So even though they're super powerful, then it's not that much of a problem, right? Now, I think in the last part, I picked up a single Divine Blessing, right? Divine Blessings And even in console versions of the game, people in PvP were actually duping those things and giving themselves an infinite amount of them. Which caused, obviously, a huge amount of problems, because people running around with infinite amounts of... I can't believe I'm doing that. I'm not even paying attention. Running around with infinite amounts of divine blessings, obviously, are a big problem in PvP. Don't want to do that, right? It'd be funny if I really want this guy to die, and then for me to, like, run off the edge and fall to my death or something. That would be the best. I don't really agree with that at all. I think that's a dumb way of balancing things. Especially since it also... The other part of that problem is that it creates the problem of... It creates a Mega Elixir problem. Of, I have this thing, I will never use it. Like, I have this single divine blessing, right? I'm never ever going to use it. I think the only time I've ever used a divine blessing is whenever I was actually testing the thing, just to see what the hell it did. And that's the only time I've ever actually used one. So the idea that... What circumstance would you ever be in that you would be like, this is the time. This is when I use the divine blessing. I mean, I guess if you've been through a big area and you're just completely out of everything... Let's see if I actually make it. Yeah, I did it. Yay! That was much harder whenever I was running on 60 FPS that one time that I got on a 60 FPS kick. And there's lots of... See, here they are. See, they're all our special girl and boys. They're coming to get me. They're coming hard and they're coming strong. Once again. Okay, this time I have a shield, though. Last time I got him to fall off the edge this way. Did the old Demon Souls pathing trick. Let's see if we can do it again. Wow, they're even stupider this time. When I said special boys, that's not exactly what I had in mind. But we'll let them do their own thing. No, you're not going to stand up there throwing lightning. We're not doing that. Oh, wow, you're good at this. I can see you've been trained to the ancient ways. Okay. Yeah, they're special boys, alright. The lady knows what she's doing, though. She's fine. Okay, what the hell was I saying? What the hell was I saying? Oh, it creates the Mega Elixir problem of, I'm never going to use this. So I guarantee that one Divine Blessing, this playthrough, I will never actually use it. I'll go into, like, the Gwyn fight, and I'll put it on my... I won't do this. I'll put it on my bar and be like, this time, guys, this time. This is the time to use it, and then I won't use it. Like, why would you do that? That's a stupid thing to do. Don't design items or weapons or whatever it is in your game. Don't design them that way. That's a bad way to do things. It's bad touch town. It's not good. Okay, but anyways, there's that. Let's see if I can get through the shorter end questions first. Because do I think that Souls games are unintuitive? I'm not going to go down every single element of what a Souls game is or isn't. I'm sure Marcus would freak out about that too. About what is a Souls game? Like, that's a whole can of worms in and of itself. But I would say Souls games probably... Some elements are intuitive, some are not. Especially Demon Souls is extremely unintuitive. Like, even like the upgrade system and things. You may not even go... you might go through the game not even realizing the upgrade system even exists, I guess. So you do need to have, like, NPCs here and there to give you basic NPC dialogue. This is how you use our video game system. It's really bad, but you kind of need that. Souls games, as far as, like, basic shit, like, this is how you attack. If you fall and you attack, you will do a plunging attack, and stuff like that. Things like that, to me, like, that's intuitive. But when it comes to, like, the more complicated systems, especially things like upgrades or anything like that, or poise, especially, extremely unintuitive. Even if you put in, like, shit like this, where it gives you explanations as far as what everything does, even something like poise, like ability to receive attacks without breaking form, that's still not really an explanation, and it doesn't really go into the nuances of it. And it took people, I think, in 3 like over a year to figure out exactly what Poise was doing, or what it was intended to do, and why it wasn't quote-unquote working. And even whenever the developers release information on it being like, oh, no, it's totally working, it's just, it's supposed to do this, and we're doing this with it, or whatever, they had their big Poise update that still didn't work. People still didn't understand it. It still didn't make a whole lot of sense. So, Souls games, extremely unintuitive when it comes to their behind-the-scenes stuff. But I would say it's pretty intuitive whenever it comes to just moving around, just attacking, just doing the things that you should be doing. The things that you... Like, making a build in Souls games is a pain in the ass. You shouldn't have to lay out a... Like, I started... What did I start at? I can't remember what class I started as. But the fact that you actually have to micromanage things like that and crunch the numbers so that you know, oh, this build that I'm going for, if I start with this build, then I will actually save 5 levels that I otherwise would have wasted, and that will actually make me more effective whenever I choose to go into PvP, which people, there's no limit on. It works sort of like this. There's soul memory in some cases, and people stop at not level 100, but sometimes they stop at 125. Like, all of that is just a mess. It is a fucking mess. And there's not much of a reason why it should be that way. It could be much easier, but it's one of those things where it's always been that way. It's always been that way, so it's going to stay that way. Because if you changed it to make it actually reasonable, then fans would just lose their mind. Like, if you actually put, like, a level cap... Like, I'm level 99 now. If you actually had a level cap of 100, and you even adjusted the scaling... so that instead of the soft cap being like 40, it was 30 or something, just so that you could actually have the true endgame be 100 instead of 125 or whatever. Just balancing issues. Even if you did that, people would still lose their mind. No, you're making it casual. I'm a baby. Wee. They would still do that. The same fucking shit that people have been doing since the 1980s in regards to video games. They'll stay that way forever. So... yeah, that's my answer to that. It's fucking garbage. There's lots of ways that you can improve it. And I guess I'll go into that as far as my next question, but for the time being, let's talk to Floaty McFloat Pants. He won't take off his fucking hover boots. He gets this Ocarina of Time hover boots, and he won't take them off. He's slipping sliding all over the fucking grass because he's an idiot. Take them off! Take off the fucking hover boots! Why are you like this?
What? Who are you? Another undead. I took on sense.
Me too.
But I'm no different from those vile creatures. I was driven by conceit. You think you're different?
Maybe he's got their armor on. Maybe he did take it on by himself, but he's wearing the armor of things that he's killed.
So
that would be cool.
Let me help you out with your soul searching.
By selling you things. Let's see what he has to say.
There's nothing more to say. We're both on the brink, you see. End of story. You bloody fool.
So yeah, he's totally crestfallen. He should be undead too. He's lost his purpose in life. He should be undead. Now, some people have pointed out that with this dude, he does have dialogue where... Hold on, actually.
Nothing at all. Fine then. Rush in like a
stupid.
Skinned alive.
He does have dialogue after he's done floating.
Oh yes, it's you.
And I can't remember what the exact conditions are that trigger it. But he has dialogue where he's counting to himself. Because that's one of the things that you do whenever you're kind of isolated and going crazy. You start doing things like going through prime numbers or anything like that to try to keep your brain functioning and focused to where you don't go nuts. So people have pointed to that and said, oh, that's evidence that he's going hollow. And to me, it's not evidence that he's going hollow, it's evidence that he's going insane, which is perfectly reasonable. That's one of the things that people get confused with Souls, is there's a distinction between people going nuts and people going hollow. They're two very different things, and the line blurs even more when it comes to Dark Souls 2. Lucatiel is so weird. Because she has a purpose, and we don't see her dying at all. So, if she has a purpose... and she's really adamant about that purpose, and she's not visibly dying, why is she going hollow at all? That's another thing entirely. Whatever. And there's a Dark Souls 2 playthrough that I'm never going to do. But anyways, as far as this guy goes, should he be hollow? Shouldn't he be hollow? Dark Souls 1 rules say no, he should not be hollow. He hasn't died anything. But if that's the reason why he's over here. He's isolated. I can imagine that if he actually went out and tried to like fight the boss of this area to make it the Sin's Fortress, he probably would die, and as a result, he probably would go hollow in that case. Because that seems, again, that's the Dark Souls 1 sort of logic of things, is that if you don't have a purpose and then you die, whenever you reform at a bonfire, you just lose a huge amount of your Dark Soul, your humanity. You lose too much of it. At that point, you're kind of just a vessel that has soul power in them and maybe a little bit of humanity left. Just enough that you want more of it to make yourself you again. Because, like the DLC says, humanity is envious of the things that you can feel, love, and, you know, all the human elements. And that's the reason why hollows go chasing after people, etc., so forth and so on. I've been over this before. So this guy, it is kind of interesting that you would think that the fact that he's crestfallen would be evidence to the contrary of him being hollow. Because if a hollow is desperate to regain its state as being a person, if someone is crestfallen, then they just don't care anymore. So you would think that someone that's crestfallen, if they actually became hollow, wouldn't even attack anyone, because why would they want to be themselves again? Because they're basically suicidal at that point. It's a weird distinction that I'm sure Miyazaki never considered at all, but hey, this is kind of interesting to think about, I guess.
Let me give you a nibble of advice.
Ooh, a nibble.
Don't even consider visiting Londo. Not in your state. For a century they've tried.
For a century. There it is.
The Night King Rendell, Black Iron Thomas,
oh, I forgot about that.
Even Logan himself.
I have to go take care of the prince.
Chance you'll be eaten alive. But go along if you wish. If only to deepen your despair.
He's like the one guy that doesn't laugh maniacally after talking.
Let me give you a...
Yep, no, wah-ha-ha-ha, you'll die so many times, wah-ha-ha. Like the one dude that doesn't ever do that. It's pretty weird.
So you're that good? Don't need a thing.
You're that good?
It won't be long before you're begging for mercy.
So, yeah, that's his whole stick. I'll buy one thing for you.
Hmm? Oh, you. Still alive? That's a surprise. Anything you want? What's mine is yours. But at a price.
He has a lot of optional dialogue, if you think about it. Like, way too much of it, in fact. It's kind of weird. Okay, I've got to buy all his shit. I'll do that later. Do I have... I think the armor pieces of these dudes drops from them. But it's incredibly rare. I might be mistaken about that, though. I can't remember. It's been too long. It doesn't matter one way or the other, but I'll be buying it from you. I'm just trying to remember if I actually had anything or not. By the way, weird distinction. I have a great axe in my inventory. But you see that it says held 0. I'll explain that very briefly. As far as the game files are concerned, every single weapon upgrade is actually an individual weapon. So as far as the game is concerned, Dark Souls has thousands of weapons. Like thousands and thousands of them. And whenever you actually upgrade your Great Axe, what you're actually doing is deleting your Great Axe, and the game generates a new weapon for you called a Great Axe +1. And that's the logic of it. So whenever it says you don't have a Great Axe, that's the reason why. Because it's just looking at the ID of this particular item and saying, well, it's not in his inventory, therefore he doesn't have it. Kind of stupid, isn't it? Yep, it's very, very stupid. Same thing with the Greatsword, same problem. Okay, so let's just buy like a single large titan, whatever. What do you got to say, buddy?
Go along, try and make something of it.
He's still not happy.
But nothing will come of it. And I should know.
There is a little bit of sympathy with him, because it's kind of hinted that he, at some point, like, he made it here. Like, he wasn't crestfallen whenever he attacked Sin's Fortress, supposedly on his own, he claims anyways, and actually made it through to the point that he gave up. Like, I would really... This is one of the missed opportunities. Like, he's a very minor character. No one really talks about crestfallen merchant. He doesn't even have a name. But if you could, like, bring him an item or something, and just have him explain, when I was a younger man and when I first came here, I came here to do something, and it's sort of left up in the air exactly what he was doing, but it was hinted to have something to, I don't know, like to do with his family or some lost honor that he was trying to reclaim or something. This is something that would give him more of an established motivation that he abandoned at some point, that makes it more clear exactly why he is doing what he's doing. By the way that his arms are crossed does not look particularly great. It actually almost looks like he's supposed to have a sword, like, held between his hands, like that's resting on the ground. Makes me kind of wonder. I wish that you could get emotes like this where you kind of just go into an idle animation. Damn, I really wish I could get that number one.
Nothing at all.
I don't remember how they actually do it. Oh well, but I still have to go over and collect this down here, that over there, and I need to take care of the prince. Prince really pissed my rockers off last time that I did this. Really got on my fucking nerves. Because I was trying to parry him and he kept spamming the same fucking move over and over again. He kept doing the little, like this. He kept doing this, except with the rapier, it's a backstep attack move. So he kept spamming that over and over and over again. Really just griped my buttons is what he did. Bam! Love it. Fucking love it. Really like fighting basic enemies. Most basic enemies in this game. And that is something I talked about last time. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Give me a second to look at my notes. By the way, is there a weapon class that I would improve? Most of them, actually. One thing about Dark Souls 3, I actually really like the weapon art system, but most of them were just useless. Like, I really like the idea, they just didn't implement it the right way. Some people go on about, like, Bloodborne and its weapons. They're really not as unique as you think they are. It's more that it just combines, like, we'll take a longsword and we'll take a hammer, and we'll just make them the same weapon, and instead of using triangle to switch weapons, you use this button, and it will do an attack animation where it just switches between modes. It makes creating the physical asset of the model much more complicated, but as far as its actual mechanics, it's not really any different from a Souls game. Like, the actual weapon itself is just two weapons. There's nothing that special about it, other than the craziness of having, like, a buzzsaw weapon or whatever. But as far as improving them, I would say pretty much all of them. Like, every single weapon class in the game needs to be improved in some sort of minor way. As far as how you go about doing that, I really don't... Well, I do know, but it will require way more work than they would be willing to put in. To me, it would be more of a matter of... In my little ancient system that I had on my working notepad, my idea, it was you could disassemble weapons into pommel, hilt, blade, and each one of those components had a different kind of moveset attached to it. And it took me several days of laying out what they would be so it wouldn't be overpowered. I can't remember what it is at this point now, though. But my idea was, well, you would disassemble them and reattach them to different weapons to make new kinds of weapons, and depending on what kind of materials that you used, you would create different movesets, and the physical model of the weapon would change a little bit if necessary. That sort of thing. Sort of more of a Vagrant story style system. So, that's not a very satisfactory answer. I guess the worst offender probably would be spears. Spears are probably the worst offender because... Spears are probably the worst offender. I've already showed this a million times. But as you can see, R1, R1, R1. Wow. Okay. R2, R2. Wow. They're so different. R1, R2. Wow. What about L1? Does nothing. Back attack, forward attack, nothing. Backstep, running attack, same thing. Boring ass weapon. Which is weird because spears are like one of the most versatile weapons ever made. That's the reason why that they were the mainstay of every battlefield across every army in the history of the world, and up until guns were conceived. Or arrows to some extent. I think the French especially didn't have much of a standing military beyond some basic infantry. They relied mostly on bows for a long time. Maybe it's the English, can't remember. Anyways, but spear is probably the short answer. Kind of unfortunate. You can do a lot of things with spears, actually. You can disarm people with them. It depends what the shape of it is. Anyways, like especially if you have like lugs on the end of your spear, then you can disarm people with it. You can do like video game things too, where you pole vault over the guy, stupid shit like that. Yay, Claymore! I love you, Claymore. I'm going to fuck you later. Definitely. You could do that. So, there's my answer to that. Spears. Short answer, spears. Okay. Would Dark Souls 1 still be fun in another genre? That's a big question, because what exactly is Dark Souls? Like, what is the genre of Dark Souls? What is the Dark Souls-like game? I don't like getting into conversations like that. And there's many attempts, like Salt and Sanctuary, that other thing that came out recently, that people mention to me ever so often that I keep forgetting its name, that people say is better than Salt and Sanctuary. Well, in another genre. In a way, that is the same genre, it's just a different format. Like, this is 3D, that's 2D. But they're still obviously trying to be the same exact thing, right? What'd you hear? This ain't gonna... He cheated. You cheated, mister. Naughty. I wonder how many times you guys have checked that off your cards lately. Your bingo cards. Plague says naughty. Several times. Oh, it didn't work. I was gonna be cute. Okay, let's reset. Oh, no. No, you don't get the reset. I get the reset. Right through a shield. Kind of cheap. I would think that last one should have bounced off. Whatever. He's not a player character. Who cares? How exactly will you translate a Souls game into another? Like, imagine Dark Souls is a... Well, they made a board game, and apparently it's fine. You can look into that one. They base that thing that Wooly's playing off of it. You could make a card game, I guess. It just depends on what elements of the game that you're trying to carry over. So I'd say that's a pretty easy yes. Like, you could definitely do that. It depends on what you're choosing to carry over. Because even within this series, like Dark Souls 3, or like Bloodborne's a good game, but it carries over elements of the games that I don't like personally, and that's what makes it not fun for me, and that's a good game. So imagine if you're making a bad game that learns the wrong lessons from Dark Souls. Not today. That it learns the complete wrong lessons from Dark Souls. He's actually doing that today. Kind of wish I still had my... God, that was fast. Still wish I had my pairing thing, so I could actually pair him. Man's being super aggressive, too. Trying to gain enough space where I could heal. Nah. You being a very bad boy and trying to avoid saying naughty. But he is being very naughty, too. Oh, come here, I want to pierce you with various things. Oh, you naughty boy. Yes. I got very angry at him last time around. There's one or two little bits where I think you guys would have enjoyed from Dead version. I don't even have the video files anymore. I can't show you anything about it. Oh, I was so fucking angry. Okay, anyways. But yeah, it just depends on what you carry over. Because there's lots of games that are trying to be Souls-like games that are learning completely the wrong lessons from these games. And I've been over that before as far as... Notice one of those little things was a little bit bigger than the other. Kind of weird. Nothing important, though. I didn't even pay attention to what it was. I don't even know what it was. I just remember picking it up last time and thinking that it was a huge waste of time. So I'm just going to assume that it was bad. So yeah, there's my answer to that. I was trying to get all the quick questions out of the way, because I don't have the problem I did at the end of my last attempt where I ran out of time, and time and patience. And didn't get through half my list. Getting through most of them, though. Okay. Let's see. I can't even remember what exactly I was going into. That's what it was. I was talking about earlier about how it's fun to fight basic enemies. This is one of my tricks in regards to making a Souls game feel good after a long amount of time. A Souls game should be moderately easy. And I know that sounds weird to you. It should be somewhat easy for a veteran player. It should be something that you it shouldn't be so easy that, you never take damage, you never have to heal or anything like that. But it shouldn't do what 3 tried to do, and just tried really, really hard to make it hard. It's so hard. Because then you have a problem of the game's just not any fun. Like, all the enemies have such like, parrying is another good example, where you can make the timing so incredibly tight. The window is so incredibly small that you get to this point where you know the timing exactly, but it is so precise that it just doesn't feel good to parry anything anymore. Like, it feels pretty good to parry things in Dark Souls 1. It's not the best feeling ever, but it's pretty good. I imagine in 3, if the enemies, like, whenever you actually fight an enemy in 3 that is just straight up just copied, like Silver Knights are a great example, from Dark Souls 1, and they actually use one of those animations, those slow Dark Souls 1, this is completely fair, but if you get hit by it, then it's your fault animations, then it feels super good to pull off a parry in Dark Souls 3 if you actually land it. But the frames on actually doing that are incredibly tight. So if you focus too much on the game being difficult, and we need to challenge the player all the time, if you do that, the game just becomes a chore, and it's not fun to play. So over time, a Souls game, one of the core aspects of it, is that just going through the areas and fighting the basic enemies should be fairly mundane. It should be. It shouldn't be a giant chore to get through an area. Like, even if I went through the first, like, Lothric area and did that, it would still be a giant pain in the ass. Even though I played through 3 several times now and hated every single one of them, it would still be a giant chore. And you don't want that. That just makes people hate your game. That goes for really any game. You need to get to the point where the game is still challenging you in small ways, but the basic infrastructure of the thing that you're interacting with all the time is fairly simple. That also has something to do with pacing. Like, whenever you place enemies in your levels in your video game, you usually have basic enemy, basic enemy, basic enemy, and then you come across, like, one really big guy, right? And then you fight that guy, and then you get over that hurdle of, oh, I actually beat him. And the fact that you only had to do that one time in an area makes you feel good. Whereas if every single enemy was like this mini-boss, and you just had to plow through every one of them, and every one of them was a chore, your brain kind of has this, like, you feel tense all the time. Even if you've, like, played through the game multiple times, and if their animations are really fast and the ability to respond to them is incredibly tight, then you can never, like, your human response time is never going to get any better. Because you have physical limitations, right? And that's what Dark Souls 3 was trying to do. It's trying to hit the limit of what a human can actually respond to in some cases. Not every case, of course. So it ends up making an unfun game, because there's too much expected of the player all the time. You need to have your general play be somewhat easy enough that it feels satisfying that whenever you actually get to the very difficult section, then that feels good too. Get what I'm saying? And that's something I feel like the Souls games have kind of lost over time. Dark Souls 1 is actually kind of easy if you play through it a bit. Like Sin's Fortress just now, I didn't die at all this time. The first time through, I died quite a bit because I was honestly being stupid that day. But this time through, like, it was much easier, and as a result, it is much more relaxing, and I had a much better time. Even though it was probably less entertaining for you guys. Now let's summon in Iron Tarkus and see how far he can take us. Maybe I'll die. Maybe I'll die after letting him die, and because the boss will have like way more health and damage unnecessarily, then I will die in the process. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Who can say? What adventure awaits us? Now, by the way, I was talking about rolling earlier, and we're doing the Great Shield now. This is partly the reason why it's been so much easier. And make no mistake, this is a problem. Like, see this Great Shield that has a stability rating. I'm going to backstep off whenever I exit this menu, I know it. That has a stability rating of 72. Oh, I don't need that ring anymore. That's a problem. Great Shields didn't really exist in real life. You had things that were set in front of doors and stuff, but they were very specific things, and they were more emplacements than they were shields, but, whatever. And put on the wolf ring, why not? Okay. You had those, but, they're not, necessary. I would like to keep Great Shields, because they look good. I don't really mind them too much, but they're just too effective. And you could see, actually, in Dark Souls 2, I love the guard break. I fucking love the guard break mechanic in that game. It was too slow, to the point that enemies, AI enemies anyways, would actually read your inputs, and, the second that you try to go for a guard break on them, they would just attack you. It was stupid. That's not good either. It had its own individual problems, but I really like the idea. So the games keep trying to solve that problem. Also in Dark Souls 2, they tried to make sure that you couldn't pick up a good shields until much later in the game, and that was an irritation that they fixed in Scholar. But they keep trying to fix it. It remains a problem to this day, and they still haven't fixed it. And Bloodborne, of course, they just tried to get rid of them entirely, which didn't really work. Go get him, Tarkus. I'm gonna stand over here. How about that? Come on, Tarkus, you can do it. You can do it, sweetie. You can do it, my little sweet tart. Go get him, buddy. Don't fall off the edge. Don't you do that. There we go. Cheer him on, guys. I don't think he's gonna live through this. So, one of my preferred solutions, not really a solution, but in the case of, non-Great Shields anyways, actually, you could apply this to Great Shields as well, is I would like it if it didn't have parry timing. Tarkus, what are you doing just standing there, bro? That if you gave it sort of minor parry timing, yeah, he's not gonna... There will be no Tarkus chance today. That if you gave it sort of minor parry timing, so that you actually had to time whenever you block people. There we go. He did okay. He cleared 50% of his health. That wasn't too bad. Uh-oh. Looks like you're near the edge. Are you gonna follow? Are you gonna be a good boy? Are you gonna be a good boy? Apparently not. God, he's just not going off, is he? Well, never mind. I thought it was gonna be... What is that? I thought I was gonna be a cutie pie, but it wouldn't let me be a cutie pie. But I would like it if shields worked... Ooh, wow! Whoa! Man, that was a big hit from a big boy. I would like it if you actually had to... Wow! That was fast. That if you actually had to time your blocks... Ooh, that was close. That you actually had to time your blocks, or else you didn't get, the full resistance to your hit, or something like that. That if it was better than just, you just raise your shield and that's the end of it. That's not much of a solution. That's not very engaging as a mechanic. Man, he has a lot of health. Don't... Oh, God's sakes. I was hoping she would have more range on that. Let's concentrate front. Don't queue up the roll! Come on. There we go. That if you actually had to apply a little bit more logic to it, more agency to your actions, I feel like shields would be less of a problem. So if people were just walking around with their shields up, then they would just get their guard broken, or they would lose a huge amount of stamina, or something of that nature. Instead of just instant winning, and relying on stability and stamina to be able to save them. Damn. I think that would be not a solution, but it would certainly help. And he loves that grab. This is another example of what happens if a boss has way too much health. Or not a boss, just like basic enemy. Like, how can you aren't fighting with inferior weapons? Because if you do, you end up with enemies that have giant health pools. And because of them having giant health pools, it just takes absolutely forever to get through anything. And that's what that would have felt like. Like, imagine if I was using a longsword or something. Like, I know this weapon's AR isn't terribly high. I forget what it is exactly. 384. This is still pretty good. That's probably what I should have if I actually had access to the embers. But if I was using like a crummier weapon like that longsword +4 or whatever it was, that would take forever. And it would just be me just wandering in circles around that boss, hoping I have enough Estus Flask charges to outlast him over a period of like 20 minutes or something. It would have been crazy. Like, just complete waste of time. That's why I don't do that. I always like this elevator. No one ever really points out this elevator. The fact that this used to be the thing that led up to Anor Londo, and of course it's been walled off. Pretty neat, huh? I actually learned that from my first playthrough. I walked up to it, and I actually was thinking, maybe that's what it is. And it turned out to be, yes, that's what it was. What a neat story that was I just told. So, yeah, that. Shields, they need to be a little bit more involved. If you made it so that if, like, a big guy ran towards you and was about to hit you and you raised your great shield, but it was at the wrong time, like, you don't want to make it stiff parry timing for those reasons that I just went over. If your timing is too tight, then it's not fun, it becomes too arduous, it's too difficult, so no one uses it. It's the kind of the same thing that happened with parrying in most cases in Dark Souls 3, outside of PvP, where you can actually anticipate and do setup parries or whatever. If you're too aggressive, people just don't use your system. So it would have to be something that feels kind of like parry timing, but the most liberal parry timing that has ever existed in any of the Souls games. Like, it would have to be fairly easy, but stiff enough to where you can't just sit there just tanking hits, that sort of thing. Although there would have to be some sort of forgiveness period, where if a whole bunch of enemies are attacking you at the same time, it's not like after you take one hit, then your guard gets broken or something like that. You don't want that problem. Still looks good, even today, doesn't it, guys? There is a trick to that. Since most of this area is obscured in shadow because of the backlighting, it actually obscures any, like, inconsistencies of the, like, model and things like that. It's actually, you can do that pretty easily in drawing, too. If you create huge amounts of contrast, it's very easy to impress people. Like, if you just have, like, a completely blacked out, like, a guy standing in silhouette, but there's, like, one or two details on the rim of his body, and most of it is completely Bastion light, then it looks super cool. It's really easy to do that. So, good trick on their part. You can still see details, of course, but my point stands. Okay, so yeah, that would be kind of the ticket. You can see our friend down there, by the way. You can make it out on your little cell phone that you should be looking at this on. That would be sort of the train of thought that I would go to in regards to fixing shields, I believe. And these dudes, I am going to not... I don't know. He's going to be super angry. I will attempt to fight one of these guys. I don't want to have to fight my way all the way to the bonfire. Because even if I make it to the bonfire, they're probably not going to let me use it. Oh, come on. Like, this is the problem with these dudes. They're using the shield that I want. Ah, that wasn't good. Get him one more hit. Come on. There we go. Okay, had to concentrate for a second. There, I proved I could do it. I'm great. Look, he's so angry. He's so angry that he can see me up here. Oh, there's a pretty lady up there, and she's fighting a big man. I want to go join him for an adventure. But he can't do it, because he's too stupid. He doesn't know how to use an elevator. It's too goddamn stupid. Okay, so a few more notes on the line of shields. I can also talk about poise. Sort of. Poise is another very difficult subject. I think I've already talked about it, or I might be misremembering. I preferred you guys whenever you weren't aggroing the very second that you saw me. I much prefer it whenever you were kind of just more guarding the place, and you were like, okay, you can go through, just don't mess with us. Ooh, don't want to do that. I preferred you back then. Damn, that aftershocks. You could see how bad that was. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be fighting these guys. 'Cause I'm trying to avoid rolling over there and aggroing all of them at the same time. So I kind of want him over here, but not too much over here. Poise is another one of those problem children. Can't do that. Don't have enough stamina to take that hit. It's another one of those problem children where it's kind of difficult to figure out what the solution can be. Because in Dark Souls 3, I think actually Dark Souls 3 sort of almost had the right idea with hyper armor. A problem with hyper armor is if someone is wearing a whole bunch of armor, but they're using a smaller weapon, then they're not going to get any resistance whatsoever. So I think armor should have a bare minimum amount of resistance, like poise, you actually get, but it should be almost nothing. So that, like, you can tank hits from, you know, like knives or maybe even like a straight sword if you're wearing the heaviest sort of shit. But otherwise, you have to rely on hyper armor. I think that's a good enough resolution for that. And hyper armor itself in 3 had the problem of its windows, as usual, its frame windows were way too tight. So as a result, in many cases, you could time your attacks against enemies so that you think, well, of course I'm attacking. But it just didn't do anything. Come on, jump back. Or don't. Just sit there like an idiot. I don't care. One way or the other. Okay. Their AI kind of gets a little funky sometimes. So I think that's the right solution. They just, again, we're trying to make everything too difficult and too demanding and too extreme Dark Souls. So as a result, they fucked up and made the system not fun to work with. Now, you can eventually learn to time attacks against most things so that they work. And against a lot of larger enemies, especially if you actually manage to somehow make a build that uses... Like, it's very difficult in Dark Souls 3 to actually... Because all the weapons have hidden, like, poise modifiers or hyper armor modifiers that... Like, I think great maces have, like, one of the highest, and maybe spears, or not spears, but, like, halberds do, or... I forget what it is, but... it just trying to actually min-max a build that actually has hyper armor that works on most enemies is very difficult in the first place. It's a big pain in the ass. I saw you pop in the play over there. So... The way that Dark Souls 3, they had a good idea, they just implemented it in a very stupid way. Hyper armor, I think, is the way to go, but heavier armors do need enough that they actually work against people that are just using exploitive, spammy weapons. Hey there, baby. Hey there, baby. I'm gonna rest here first, though. I actually have enough for a level up. Look at that. I never even used my poison. I put that on here and then completely forgot about it. We'll get there one day, though.
Well, you are a rare visitor. Welcome to the lost city of Londo, chosen undead. If you seek Lord Gwyn's old keep, exit here and head straight yonder. If you are the chosen one, a revelation shall visit.
Kind of like that she buys into it.
What thereafter depends upon you.
Now she came here and Gwendolyn, I think, is the one that actually helped her. Because that's where she got the armor from, and supposedly he's the one that made her a firekeeper in the first place. So, it's interesting that she bought into the Gwyn bit well after all this had happened, and she's actually seen Londo empty. Like, she's in on it. as much as she can be, I guess. So that is kind of interesting in and of itself, I guess. Not too much to say about it, it's just kind of perplexing.
What is it? What am
You look like me. I'm also a giant hideous
I
monster.
am the keeper of the bonfire. If not for me, what beacon would there be in this lost city? A gatekeeper and a guide. That is my calling.
That does a pretty good job. Imagine if you were undead and you never needed to actually eat anything or drink anything. That would be advantageous, but imagine how incredibly boring life would be. Like if you gain no pleasure through eating or like that's more of a... I think that only came up in Dark Souls 3. Sigurd says something about it. That he doesn't actually derive any enjoyment from it. And I think one of the item descriptions of the brew that they give you says that it's made specifically for hollows or whatever. Just Dark Souls 3 isms. But 1 doesn't really go into it. So 1's lore may be that people eat and drink and so on, the same as normal people do. But you figure there's not much to, not much to come by in this area. Plus you're undead, so you're effectively immortal. You think that even if... Like, it's weird. Do you think that someone could starve and die, even if they were undead? They would just kind of reform and not have that problem again for a while? Man, that would be the worst, wouldn't it? If there was just no food left in the world, eventually, but there were a few undead still left, so they kept starving, dying, and then reforming over and over again. Oh, that would be rough.
The bonfires attended by the keepers are special. They are linked to one
So there is a distinction.
and their flames never die. Yet never shall the keepers
Okay,
of
so
these meet.
I'd forgotten about that line. I am correct in saying that you can light a bonfire, but it will eventually die out. And the idea with the Firekeeper's bonfire is that they never die out as long as they're being maintained. But the reason why they never die out is because the Firekeepers are replete with humanity. So whenever their humanity does eventually run out, then yes, it does go out. It's just that it's such a long amount of time, I can't imagine it ever really happening.
If you require rest, now is the time. That is, after all.
What a bonfire is for, dumbass. Okay, so we're done with you. Alright, so I'm not going to progress too much down this way. I do... jeez, I forgot. Maybe I shouldn't have sat down. Well, I had to tag the bonfire either way. These guys, if you walk straight out, I remember, aggro very easily. So let's try to pick one of them off at a time, which was a great adventure last time with my longsword that I, for some reason, refused to stop using. There we go. Got one of them, but only one. Exactly what I wanted. I'm so good at the video game. Okay. So we resolved how to fix shields, how to fix poise. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, I think this is the last item on my list, is an issue in regards to respecking. This sort of goes hand in hand with some things I was talking about earlier. I think there were 1 or 2 comments from people, not exactly talking about this, but the idea of like weapon classes I think might have been what spurred this. The idea of having an identity, and I started talking about that. And some people I think might have started talking about respecking and whatnot. But like the idea of, like Freelid is running, 40 strength, 20 dex. So the idea of her suddenly being able to expertly use a dex weapon via rerolling is not completely ludicrous, but it is a little bit silly. But especially the idea of going from a strength user of Freelid smash, Freelid wants snooze to. I've never showed that off, have I? The notion of that and going straight to being a mage is, of course, ridiculous. And I also think it's a bad idea. Damn it. Stepping out that far. I knew that was a bad idea, but I did it anyways because I'm an asshole. Let's try this. No! No! And the reason why that is a bad idea, if I can remember what the hell I was just saying, is a lot of people don't even really think about it this way. But once upon a time, the reason why things were called levels, especially in like tabletop format, is because levels are meant to be a reflection of your ability to learn a system. That is, if a game gives you, like, a weapon or something, and the weapon has, like, 30 aspects of its moveset. Like, it's just crazy how much this thing can do, right? Gosh. Your range is crazy. Gosh. Come on, guys. Good God. Well, they managed to overpower... They actually managed to overpower the Great Shield. That's even dropping my guard to try to regain stamina. They eventually just face-fucked me. That even... What was I saying? I keep losing my train of thought. That respecking, losing identity... That it's ridiculous to switch to being a sorcerer of all things. Oh, the levels. That the whole thing with the levels is that they're a reflection of your ability to learn a system. So if you give a weapon that has like 1,000,000 moves on it, right? I should have kindled that while I'm thinking about it. It has 1,000,000 moves. The game doesn't want to throw all of that at you at once. Like, you get the weapon, it doesn't say, alright, here's all 30 moves, learn them all, asshole. Especially in like an action, like third-person action game or something. So what it does is it has levels. Levels of skill. Like, this is literally where the word is coming from. And, hey, all this time and you haven't killed this? Lazy. Honestly. Like, I could be walking around with 99. I could be a firekeeper too. But you space it out so that you teach the player, alright, this is the first move of weapon. Of this weapon. It's level 1. And then once they get through that, they learn, oh, she kindled it as far as she could. It was at plus 10, to be fair. She just didn't have the right of kindling. I don't want to be mean. And once you learn that move, after a while, the game is like, okay, you have spent X amount of time with this weapon. We're going to assume that you know what you're doing with it. Here's level 2, and it gives you the next set of moves. And it just keeps doing that and adding layers and layers and layers until you eventually reach the max level, at which point that's supposed to be God damn it. That's supposed to be... I'll just fucking do this. That's supposed to be a reflection of, okay, you have completely memorized everything about this weapon, you know exactly what it is that you're doing. Actually, let's do this. Fuck this. I'm just gonna quit out and reset the dumb little assholes. Now that's cheating. Now that's Dark Souls. I'll do the speedrunner way of, jumping off the ledge of something, then quitting out as you land, so that you respawn there. Okay, let's do this again. I'll concentrate this time. Get that magic pixel to where only that one guy will be angry. And, that's generally how levels work. Like, that's the whole concept behind it. So when it comes to actually changing your entire class, if you're going from big strength build, big meaty meat woman, to I'm now a mage, then it makes perfect sense why you wouldn't want to do that. Because you want to make sure that the player actually knows what they're doing. So you don't want players to just completely respec everything about themselves. Because they won't know what the hell's going on. And it will be difficult for them to actually... Like, they eventually might figure out, oh, I can do this, and they can survive and get through the game, but they won't get a full experience with it. That's why you don't do that. So, that aspect of respecing and being against it, I perfectly understand. So, like, respecing in Souls games has always been a giant pain in the ass. You can't do it in 1. If you want to change your build, you're just fat out of luck. You just can't do it. In 2, they kind of made it a pain in the ass. In 3, they made it especially a pain in the ass because you can only do it X amount of times. And then the game's like, no, you've had enough. How dare you? Which I find to be the stupidest thing in the world. Because it's your fucking game. If you want to... Like, because especially with me, like, if I'm playing this game, I usually, on most builds, if I have access to a lot of things, will change out weapons and clothing all the time. If I'm playing a spellcaster of all things, I'll try to use different spells all the time. I was grappling out Star Trek Online the other day, I guess, in one part. So if I'm playing Star Trek Online, I'm switching ships all the time. I'm switching builds all the time. Guild Wars 1, I don't know if I really talk about that all that much. I played the shit out of Guild Wars 1. I switched builds in that game all the time. Constantly. I played the game for years because I just never ran out of new builds to try and invent. And there's many cases in that game where you were able to invent things that the designer, Izzy, who is a bit of an idiot, did not... Oh, wait, I forgot about that one. I forgot about him. Shit. Fuck me. I remembered him just as I was turning the goddamn corner. God damn it. No, you know what? Fuck this. No. How come you just don't use a weaker weapon? Because then it's this times 100. That's why. So that's the reason why you don't want to handle respecing that way. And as far as respecing in that way, like, you want to make sure that players can continue to develop and try new things over and over and over again. So actually limiting and restricting the player and saying, no, you can only respec, 4 or 5 times ever, and then you're done. That, to me, is the most asinine... Like, here's where it's coming from. I'm sure in Miyazaki's mind, you make a character that is your build, forever. And they expect in these games for you to play... Like, they do not expect you to play like I play. Like, I will go through and I will collect everything on one character, regardless of whether I want to use it or not. I will... Giant Shield, there we go, alright. Alright, let's see what it looks like. And I will, there we go, it looks a little bit better. Yeah, probably can't roll with this shit. Oh, no, I'm fine. Alright, there we go. Looking good now. And, I will collect everything on one character. I will kind of finalize their build or whatever. If I had the chance, I would re-roll them constantly. I would make one character and just develop it as much as I can and try new things constantly. That's how I play. I will, like, try a completely new build in a game every day. I'll log in, see my one that I used yesterday, and completely change it. Miyazaki does not make Souls games with that in mind. He doesn't understand things like that. In his mind, you're just making something to... Like, even playing one weapon, which to me is the most baffling thing in the world. Why would anyone make an entire character and invest, like, 80 hours of play in one character and only use a single weapon throughout the entire lifespan of one guy? That, to me, is the most baffling, crazy thing. It makes no sense to me. I do not understand that. I think that is the stupidest thing in the world. But some people are like that, and that's just how they play. I don't understand it, but that's fine. So whenever the game is actually made for people like that, it's incredibly weird to me. Let's do this again. So, Miyazaki makes the games with that, like, with that mentality of, well, that's just their character. So whenever you have something like Dark Souls 3, where, okay, you can respec, then it's an accommodation on his part. It's him trying to meet you halfway by saying, okay, fine, I'll let you respec, which I consider to be a heinous sin against my vision of the game, but I'll only let you do it X amount of times. So, like, from my perspective, respecing only X amount of times... Aw, he laughed before he went to Betty Bye. Let's do that again. I want to hear him laugh and giggle as he goes back to sleep. That was cute. And you barely got to hear it. He's a cutie pie. He's naughty. That's true. Now we're just going to sit here and let him giggle. Because he's such a little cutie. Such a little cutie. And yes, his teeth are actually like human fingers or something. No, I don't think that's true in this one. I think that's... Is that 2? I can't remember. I don't really even care. Anyways. Come on, go to sleep. Go back to sleep. No, wait, he actually is asleep. What am I talking about? It's weird that you can put them to sleep. He didn't do it that time. He didn't giggle at all. I wanted giggling. I wanted teetering in my playthrough. Okay. So, I perfectly understand that. But, of course, from my perspective, restricting it is absolutely crazy. Why would you ever restrict it? If you're going to have a reroll system, the whole point of having a reroll system Well, I'm sure in Miyazaki's mind, the whole point of a reroll system is, well, they want to make a minor adjustment to their build. They think they have a finalized build, but then they find a new weapon in New Game Plus or whatever. So, of course, they might want to put one more point here and there to fix their build. It's a little, it's a little too much for me to assume that they're going to know perfectly what it's going to be at the very end or whatever. So I'm sure that's his rationality with it. But to me, it's if you're going to have a respec system, the whole point is that you can try new things. So you might be wondering, well, how do you reconcile those two things, Blake? How do you make it so that you can have a respec system, but not have the level problem of how do you roll a mage without knowing what the hell a mage is? You don't have 80 hours of being a mage under your belt. My solution is you have a build system. Like, you cap out your levels. Like, it's like an attribute system or something. Let's say that your max level is 100. Even if you have infinite levels, you can still have, like, attributes or something, right? To where you can only invest so many points into core skills. This is much easier if you actually have a level cap system. But this is another accommodation thing, since Souls people are so adamant about, no infinite levels. Oh, do you ever use infinite levels? No, but I like that they're there. Then shut up. Anyways, if you have limited, restricted levels, then this is much, much easier. But you restrict the amount of points that you can actually invest in skills. But you can actually train up other attributes without actually investing anything in them. That is to say, you can level up, like, you could view it this way. Like, if there's infinite levels, like, you go up to level 999. Then, right now, like, I'm at level 100. Let's say that this is my final build. I can't invest any more points in this from this point forward. But whenever I level up from this point forward, I can put points in it, but then that stat will show up as being like it'll have like 40 vitality, and then it'll have parentheses 41, and that will be the total points that I like. That's my total learned, like that's the total learned like maximum that I can go up to whenever I'm rebuilding myself, because I've leveled up that stat. So even once you get to like this final build, let's say that I decide I'm going to go for level 102. So I go down to intelligence, and I increase intelligence from 8 to 9. And it says 8 parentheses 9. And I just keep doing that for level. And eventually I get to intelligence 8 parentheses 99, because I maxed it out. And all those stats eventually will become parentheses 99. At that point, the game will be like, okay, you have learned how to use this or whatever. Then, at that point, you can respec up to that maximum value of a stat. Now, to me, that's not a perfect system. That's more of a Souls-y system. To me, a more perfect system would be if you actually... This is never in any Souls game at all. But it would be more if... I don't exactly like this. This is not a perfect system, but I'll use this as an example. Like, if you're using, like, straight swords, or you're using... Like, this is just a great sword. This is a great sword moveset. Let's say that you're using a great sword moveset. Use that while I'm thinking about it. Over time of using it, you might eventually like start leveling up strength or something. Like, this is sort of Oblivion system. This is one way of doing it. This is not my preferred system. And eventually you get to the point where you... I wonder how... Let's see what happens if I walk straight down the middle, if both these guys aggro at the same time. That's a test. Right down the tiles. What's going to happen? Everyone's angry. Yes, everyone, yes sir, everyone is very angry at me for doing that. This is the reason I was not doing that. Let's see if I can even touch this. I cannot. Well, let's quit. That's why I did not do that. Just to show it off. But if you use like a weapon like that, then you would start leveling up, you get like points or whatever towards your physical stats of strength and dexterity and so on. I wonder how many of these things I have. Strength, dexterity, and so on. Yeah, I've got plenty. Oh gosh, I've got plenty of these. We'll do that in the meantime. And so, as a result, the game is like, okay, you're using weapons associated with the playstyle that we have associated with these weapons. Therefore, you're gaining points towards them. You're leveling them up. so that whenever you respec, you have that same thing where you have a maximum amount that you have learned that you can invest into. That's one way of doing it. The problem with that is if you're on like a second playthrough and you know, or you're like, it's not that big a deal, I guess. But if you're on like a second playthrough and you pick up a weapon, you don't want to say, well, this weapon's not going to be effective because I haven't grinded it out yet. You don't want to have that problem either. A problem of, oh, I'm going to try hammers today. Better go kill and farm 50 enemies. You don't want that either. Like, that's not good either. So to me, it would be more of division between just, like, you don't level up your individual weapons in this case. It'd be more like you just gain points towards physical stuff or magical stuff. And that'd be pretty much it. It just depends on how your game is made and how distinct, like using, like in the case of the Souls game, like using faith versus intelligence is. Are they really that different? Not really. There's kind of minor differences between them. So I think that if you learn how to use sorcery, then you could probably go to faith pretty easily as far as respecking goes. But, and in a Souls game especially, you could probably go from magic to pure physical pretty easily, since magic in Souls games is so shitty that you're kind of expected to use it as a backup supplement thing. So, as far as like fixing that whole thing of respecking, my preferred system is just that, of just trying to make it so that you break down what you expect of the player into like 2 or 3 categories of like physical versus magical or whatever it happens to be. And you just individually, in whatever system that does not exist yet, level up those things. So that even if someone hits max level using their physical build, like I did here or whatever, then you still have to at some point pick up a wand and go out and actually practice using it before the game's like, okay, you got it. You understand it now. Here's your max level dude. Like, that would be my way of resolving it. Of basically what we have now. Of, in a Souls game, you can level up to whatever. Like, you can max out all your levels. Like 99, 99, 99, 99. The only difference would be that you can't, it would have that same parentheses thing, where you just can't go beyond, you can't go beyond the max attribute limit, or whatever you want to call it. Like, that would be my solution. Now, you could make the argument of, just because you're investing 99 in intelligence doesn't mean that you have used it, and that's fair. But you could also make the reverse argument of, you can invest, 99 in intelligence, and never invest anything in strength or dex at all, and just never use magic because you're an idiot or something. You could do that, I guess. But it's not a perfect thing. I'm sure there's slightly better solutions to that problem, but none of them are very Souls-like. It would have to be a completely different game. So whenever I talk about the Souls games not exactly going in the direction that I wanted them to go, that's usually what I'm talking about. Souls games are very repetitive. They're kind of just the same game over and over again, except they have very small distinctions between them that don't really fix anything, because they're not trying to fix major things. They're just trying to play it safe. And to me, that's one of the greater disappointments in the Souls games. But anyways, let's see. I think that's gone over all my notes today. I want to make sure I got all of them out of the way, because the last time I tried this, it was just a nightmare. Weapon class improve. Okay, yeah, that's everything. Alright, so next time we're going to be starting on Anor Londo. Old Freeland's going to be starting on Anor Londo, and Dark Mooninus is over here, is going to help me. And once we do that, once we have that out of the way, we'll of course go to the Duke's Archive so that we can actually start upgrading other materials. But for the time being, I'm kind of okay with this look. We're going to have more options once we actually clear out Duke's Archives, though, so this is probably going to be our first stop one way or the other. Alright, so you guys give me your thoughts as far as all those little topics go, if you care to. And whatever I said in the middle, I can't remember. What was the thing I was talking about in the middle of the video that I asked for your feedback on that I couldn't find a solution to? You guys figure it out, because this is 2 hours, and I'm not going to go back and figure it out. You guys have probably already left many comments complaining about it one way or the other. Alright. Hope you enjoyed me standing inside of a small room talking to myself for about 30 minutes or so, because the last time I looked down, it was like only about an hour into the video. And now it's 2 hours. At least it didn't crash this time. Last time it crashed 3 times. Before that, it crashed 2 times. And I think the video before that, it also crashed 2 times. The trick is to never die. That's the trick. If only I'd known that sooner. Alright. Say goodbye, Freelid. You sexy, sexy lady. She looks way sexier in this outfit, I think. I really like the way that this outfit... Like, once you actually adjust the dimensions of it, and you give her the plague body preset, it really looks really good. Especially on her. She looks magnificent. Like, balder leggings, look at her butt, That's not actually my preferred method of turning up the dial, so to speak. This is. Yeah, she looks good, doesn't she? Still not sure what exactly her canon appearance is, exactly. You guys really like the legging one. This one is also good, I think. Give your comments and your masturbation in the... No, don't do that in the comments below. Don't do that in comments below. Say goodbye, Freelib, before I say anything other that's also bad. That's her version of saying goodbye now. The what is it, poster? Okay, guys. I'll see you next time.